Okay, just a slightly tweaked scene from Vaughan. And I talked about earlier in another video how you should always use Monte Carlo. But for cartoonish scenes like this, you could actually get away with interpolated. But you should be a bit careful because flat surfaces will flicker quite a bit. So these are the settings that I used. I'm not going to get too much in detail. This leaves more well, it basically pushes in shadows in the angle areas, and this one puts in a lot of detail where the mouth is, for example, and in small corners, and this puts in less detail in huge surfaces. So pushing that to 100 will make your animation flicker quite a bit, so you should really try to lower that. But then again, if you lower it too much using interpolated, you'll have this small splotchy flicker, which is kind of like not what you want. So I guess also I could test this using cached animation. It really depends on how heavy your scene is and stuff like that. But I'm not going to do that now. I think I made another video on cached GI. You could Google it, YouTube it. So yeah, that's the notes on that. And this will also make your animation flicker if this is set to too low. So let's just set that to 1, and you see that how it kind of creates these splotches there. That's not really cool. I guess if I press F9 it will be better. No, not all that much. And it renders in, okay, it's like 14-ish seconds. So that's 14 seconds for this. And it's not going to make that much of a difference really if you push that up to 400. But it's going to like look tons better. See that? The render time is almost the same in this case. Well, I guess that's kind of like exaggerating a bit. But so that was 14 seconds. Okay, it's 24. But anyway, you see you get the point between this and that. Obviously, putting that too low just wouldn't kick it. So it is possible animating scenes like this with interpolated and get a decent result. There's also video filters like flicker filters that can help you out. I might have a look at that in another video. So you can, for example, buy an OpenFX anti-flicker plugin and use it in DaVinci or so. But anyway, these are the settings for the GI, and these are the settings for the render. Shading samples set to something kind of low there, and this doesn't need to be too high either. Anti-aliasing in this case needs to be somewhat high because I've used fiber effects on how did I get in there? Anyway, on the pants there, and let's see, yeah, you can see I've used solid just to get it to preview in VPR really. Just a fast test. Guess I might as well share this scene. Yes, and this is 11.6. Nothing fancy with this and that. Motion blur off. So it could play with that, but of course I will pump up the render time a lot. So I advise to add motion blur in post if you can. Yeah, I think that's it for that. Yeah, and cache. Well, I mean, I made another video way back on using cache and not. So you could YouTube that, I guess. For complex scenes, then using cache might not be worth it. But anyway, that's another subject, really. But yeah, I found these settings to be pretty good. Not fantastic, but pretty good. And you can use denoise filters in DaVinci Resolve and anti-flicker filters in DaVinci Resolve to get better results. Add motion blur in DaVinci Resolve. You'd have to buy DaVinci Resolve Studio, which is 300, I guess, or you would have to buy a plugin, motion blur plugin. I guess you might as well buy DaVinci Resolve Studio. I think it's like 300 bucks. Okay, anything else? No, I think that's it. Thanks to Vaughan for providing the scene. I think this was the scene made in LightWave 8. So I just added the floor and made it more funky. It's basically the same scene. Yeah, let's see here. For previews, let's see. For previews, you might want to put on draft mode. I don't know. It actually, well, maybe. Just put on draft mode and maybe push this down to something super low. Will that help? Kind of, maybe. Let's just try it. Make a preview. Let's say 50 frames for that. So it's not all too bad making that preview. So it renders in 1 second per frame. This is a Ryzen 1700 and I overclocked it from 3 GHz to 1.7 and quite easy actually. You just do it in the BIOS and it's going from 3 GHz to 3.7 and so far so good. The Ryzen 1700 and 1700X is one of the better ones to overclock compared to what you get back. It isn't until like the 3950, I think, that it actually pays off to overclock again. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but the models in between are kind of like not that fantastic. So this very cheap CPU actually is extremely good. You can just overclock it and you'll get quite a few percentage more performance. Anyway, let's just play this, and that's what it looks like. But of course, this is flickery, so let's turn that back, and the real deal will look like this here. So and that's not too far away from flicker free. All right, I'll leave it at that.